Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Romanov Law Divorce Like a Boss channel. I am Jessica Toledo, who is legal assistant, who is going to go over description of abuse that is listed in the form DV100 and is considered abuse. And I will do my best to use my knowledge and experience based on past data of cases to describe what it would be as an example of abuse based on that description. So let's go over it.
Yeah, so the first type of abuse is person made repeated unwanted contact with you.
For example, we have a lot of examples on these type of cases when, for example, someone, another side, father, mother, is keep calling to ask the same thing over and over and over again when the person who is saying to them no. I have a case currently where we basically say, please do not contact, and they keep calling and contacting. So what we do in those type of cases, we send people to our family wizard. It's actually a paid platform. Another one is unpaid. It's Talking Parents, and it's monitored communication platform, and it's easy to print out and show to the judge as an exhibit. So everything that is being communicated via text, any platform, email, phone call, logs, everything can be used in court. So if one person tells the other person, do not contact me, unless they have a child that needs to be peaceful and basically be in a way that it's not harassing. For example, I will pick up the child at 6 p.m. instead of calling 15 times to say the same thing or harassing about little things. So ideally, communicate sporadically and to the point.
What about being tracked, controlled, or having blocked movements?
Yeah, someone cannot just block movements and say, I'll take your car keys so that you cannot go to your doctor appointment. That would be considered a straightforward case. Track movements would be, in nowadays we have Apple AirTag. And if someone puts an AirTag into a child's diaper bag or something else, or behind somewhere in the car to track the movement, that's considered abuse.
Okay, keeping you from getting basic food or necessities.
In some cases, there are situations where both parties decide one party is going to work and the other one is going to stay and take care of the children. It doesn't mean that the one who works dictates how much food is going to be on the table, how much money needs to be spent, unless there is an agreed upon budget. It's obvious that the person who stays needs to be taken care of and have the basic needs. So that's the case where someone is dictating the budget, someone is unreasonably so, right? So dictating the budget and dictating what to eat and when to eat and how to eat.
Okay, isolating you from friends, family, and other support systems.
That is so tricky. Okay, so the obvious case, of course, if someone deletes friends from the phone or says obvious you cannot contact the friend. But this is the easiest case, right? The least easiest case is when someone is lying about friends, or I call it Chinese torture. It's like one drop at a time. Oh, your friend didn't call you for your birthday, huh? What kind of friend is that? Or, oh, your friend is trying to borrow money from you, and just like constantly trying to isolate with the intent of the person, the abusers, so the victim is completely dependent on emotionally, financially, spirit, on everything on the abuser. And then the abuser gets to be this type of way. I had a situation when a client was acting normal, and then after a year, I noticed, and he was accused of domestic violence. After a year of working together, I noticed the type of communication. First, you will notice that type of people when they're showering you with compliments, gifts. It's
Yeah.
called love bombing, right? And it's the same thing that works with attorney and client, the same way they're
all interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, they work this way in every area of their life. And then once they feel they got you in and you're listening, then they tell you, okay, I want you to write to this opposing counsel. And in the relationship, it would be, I want you to tell this friend this. And they're going to be so insistent on it that it's easier to write what they ask than to resist them. And that is not only narcissistic, that's also the type of abuse we're talking about.
It falls into our other previous video, the covert abuse.
Correct.
Secretive.
Covert abuse, when it's gaslighting, secretly manipulating, where the victim is not realizing it at the time, but when it becomes so obvious after a while. And I had to fire that client, by the way. If you're going through divorce and you would like to have everything in one place in an engaging way, this is your book. I created this book to help you understand the divorce process without getting lost or without getting a heart attack. You can buy it on Amazon in all formats, including audio format.
Okay. Made threats based on actual or suspected immigration status.
Yeah, so a lot of clients came and said, oh my gosh, he or she told me that if I don't do XYZ, then they're going to report me to the IRS. And even after they got citizenship, the other side was... So I would say this, knowledge is power. When you feel that someone is threatening your immigration status, immediately contact an immigration attorney, because I'm aware, I'm not an immigration attorney, so I cannot give you information, a lot of information about immigration law, but there is Women of Domestic Abuse Act.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it includes also men, where they can get a status based on abuse. And so I would be very careful if someone is trying to say things like that. It means abuse.
Okay. This one's pretty straightforward. Made you do something by force, threat, or intimidation.
Yeah. Do we have a case like that I can give as an example? I mean, it's pretty obvious if someone tells you, if you don't do XYZ, I'm going to hit you. That's an obvious abuse, right? But what if they say, if you don't provide me sex right now, I'm not going to give you money tomorrow for food. That's abuse too.
Okay. They stopped you from accessing or earning money.
You know, society is evolving. I mean, 40 years ago, it was typical that, you know, women didn't work,
Right.
Or maybe it was 50 years ago. I don't know how many years ago, but basically it's a privilege to work. And if someone doesn't want you to work, that means they want to control you and control finances. So that's absolute abuse. Yes.
Yeah. Stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
The ones that make the choice, but then they don't have access to the accounts.
That's
right.
And I have clients coming in sometimes, they say, you know, I never seen what my spouse had in the accounts. And then we have to launch a discovery. We have to find out. And even then, they don't respond, and we have to file a motion to compel. So there are some traditional stereotypes that are still popping up from time to time. And I'm glad that it's now part of the definition of abuse.
Yes, because it is abuse.
It is.
Okay. Try to control, interfere with your contraception, your birth control, pregnancy, or access to health information.
Access to health information, that's an obvious one. For example, if one spouse wants a child, the other spouse doesn't want the child, and they don't agree on that, then either they get divorced, but one spouse doesn't get to decide what pills to take or which contraception to take. I mean, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's abuse.
Yeah. These ones harassed you.
Yeah. Harassing is, let's say you say no and the person is going after you and keeps saying the same thing. Well, give me sex, or like, give me money, give me this, give me that. And you're like, stop. I would say, At what point is considered harassment? To me personally, I would say 3 times no, and that after that is harassment.
Right. And as we mentioned in the beginning of the video, no is a full sentence.
And again, it depends on the situation, right? So if someone is asking, hey, can you do X? And I say no, and then they keep being in my face
Right.
3 times, maybe already first no is after that is a harassment. So it's, if the person is asking nicely, maybe first no is okay, but I would say after 3, it's definitely not okay.
Yeah. Kicked you, hit you, bit you, tried to physically injure you, obviously. That's not okay, and definitely a form of abuse.
So one way to document it, of course, any images, anything that, and okay, people ask, can I take videos secretly of the other person, and how can I prove this kind of stuff? And there is an exception in penal code that says if you suspect abuse is going to happen, you're allowed to take a secret. In California, you're not allowed to take a video without the person's consent, but you're allowed if you suspect abuse is going to happen right now. And that video is a permissible evidence. That photo, video, whatever is going on is going to be permissible evidence in court.
Threaten to hurt or kill you.
Obvious abuse. So that's someone, it speaks for itself.
Right. And then sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse, it's not okay to say, I meant to say no, but I didn't, and I didn't like the sex. You gotta say the word no. No. That's it. That's all it takes. Because I had cases where it was really vague. It's like, well, I should be having sex because it's, a marriage, but I didn't want to. Did you tell the other side? No, I didn't. Well, the abuser needs to know that they're violating the boundary now.
Abused a pet or an animal?
That's exactly it.
Right.
So if someone hits, bits, yells, screams, shuffle, all of that is also abuse.
Yeah. And destroys your property.
Yeah, if someone takes your computer or laptop or whatever else and shows you or hits the wall, right? I didn't hit her, I didn't hit him,
right.
I hit the wall. That's abuse too.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Especially the children, when they're watching this kind of stuff, they're affected. So that's why the protected party in the case where someone is hitting the ball is going to be the people who are watching it. So they're affected and they're going to be protected under the Domestic Violence Prevention Act.
And then obviously choked you, strangled you.
That's
and since we were mentioning children, abuse the children.
Oh, of course. That's absolutely not okay.
So these all fall in the category of you qualifying for a domestic violence restraining order, the application under California. Right?
Exactly. And so if you want to have a summary of all of these examples, then it would be on page 3 of DV100. So I have another long video about how to apply for domestic violence restraining order, which can be found on my channel, which forms to use, custody related, not custody related. Mm-hmm. But this is the main form where you need to fill out everything and then describe most recent abuse chronologically in order to get the domestic violence restraining order. In order to get it, you would need to submit all these forms, and then the court will get it back to you within 24 hours, and then you will get temporary restraining order. It doesn't apply until you have a sheriff or someone else serve the other side. Then they have to be restrained, the other side. And then you will get a hearing to go. Everyone has to have a due process, meaning even the abuser will have the right to say what they believe is happening. And then the court will decide, do we need a trial? You can also decide, do you need a trial? Or is it enough to have a short hearing to go over these incidences? So please don't think that if you claim that, that's it. It's going to be a process. And that process can be for free if you, for example, contact a clinic, or you can hire a lawyer, which that means a retainer, and it's potentially a very expensive process if it goes to trial. I hope this video was helpful. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in my next consultation. Bye!